Welcome to the Post Credit Podcast. I am your host, Dave Dwyer, joined by my co host, Joshua Gamp. And this is where the movie conversation begins after the credits roll. You know that feeling when the lights come up, but you're still sitting there thinking about what you just watched? Well, that's where Josh and I come into play because Josh and I are two people who are calling each other after we see the next big blockbuster, the next Marvel DC movie. We are those guys. We are here to discuss movies and moments that made us fall in love with film, from the classics that shaped our childhoods to the stories that still inspire us today. So grab your popcorn, settle in, and let's talk about why the best part of any movie might just come after the credits. Welcome in, Josh.
What
Thank
up?
you
What up?
for joining me on this adventure, my fellow movie lover. How we doing today?
Oh, we're doing good. It's a long time coming, man. I'm
It is.
excited to jump into this.
I am too. Like I said, you and I are two people that reach out to one another, get excited to go see movies. Like, I don't know many people like that today who get as excited to go experience a movie, especially in theaters. I mean, you and I are talking post COVID era where, I mean, we can dive into that later, where movie theaters took a hit and people stopped going to movies once everything was sent to stream. But there's nothing like going to experience a movie for the first time in the theater. And I love it. I know you love it. We're here today to discuss movies that made us fall in love with film. But before we do that, we gotta take it back to how you and I met. And I mean, I'll give my perspective, and I'll let you give the audience your perspective. But
Oh no.
I
I
mean,
think my perspective is the important part of
all
it.
right.
But
I mean, listen, go ahead. I might have to defend myself here, but take it away, Josh.
oh man. So Dave and I met. We met in an unlikely scenario. This is 2020. We'll rewind the clocks back to 2020 at the start of the pandemic. Um, Dave is a streamer. You know, he's done streaming for gaming and things for a while. And I am not a gamer, or was not a gamer. But you go back to 2020, everybody's at home. You know, there's so much free time now than there ever felt like there has been. All of my friends growing up were big gamers, and I never owned a console, not privately at least. You know, I shared Nintendo 64s and PlayStation 2s with my siblings growing up, but it was never like a big part of my life. Well, 2020 happens, and I'd had some friends that were really into Fortnite, and I would play occasionally when I would be over at their houses. And I determined, you know what, I'm going to buy my first ever console, and I get a PlayStation 4. And it was a day that I didn't have any friends on. They were all off. So I decided, you know what? I don't want to play alone because I'm not good at this game. Maybe I'll jump into some random squads on Fortnite. And I did that for a few rounds. And mind you, I had a headset, I had a microphone, but I was a girlfriend of mine that I was living with at the time. We lived in a very, very small flat, a studio flat. And I was trying to be quiet because she was working. So I jump into this random squad game. I'm like listening to him talk, but I can't really say anything. I think, oh, this guy is so cool. Like, he sounds fun. He's like super energetic. It sounds like he has a great mic. I saw the TTV in his name. So I'm like, oh, this is really cool. This guy's going to lead me to victory. I'm just trying to get carried. And well, I was not good at the game. And we got ambushed by a different squad, and he got downed. And I couldn't get to him fast enough to res him, but I was near him, panicking, trying to figure out how to get him, back into the game. And he is screaming, yelling, just the meanest things. I am useless. What 4-year-old am I? Get this kid off this game. What the heck? Doesn't even have a mic. How are you playing squads and you don't have a mic? And I had to quietly turn around and ask, my girlfriend at the time, hey, honey, can I just say something to this guy really quick? I just want him to let him know I'm trying. And she's like, yes. So I turn my mic on and I just quietly go, hey man, I'm really sorry. I'm kind of new at this game. I do have a mic. I promise I can hear you. I'm trying my hardest. I'm so sorry. And he went silent. I can tell that he, feels terrible.
I still feel terrible hearing this. Go on. Just sitting here hearing it is bad.
And his tone changed drastically. And we went on to play multiple games. He kept he's like, oh, I feel, he's like, let me add you. We'll play some games. It's lots of fun. And yeah, here we are 5, almost 6 years later, and several, trips to see each other, and lots of conversations about everything from music and TV, and especially movies over the years. I gained a very, very good lifelong friend out of what some people would consider an unfortunately angry situational start.
Like Josh said earlier, I stream, and last night we were gaming, and somebody in my Twitch chat, as we were telling the story back, said, what I started as his bully, but then became his friend. Okay. That's how somebody put it in my chat. I was like, ooh, that one hurt. But he's right. It was a fun start. I felt so guilty because you sounded like the nicest guy. I was like, oh my God, I just said the worst things to this poor guy. In my defense, it was a day of me playing what we call random squads. And I was dealing with people who did not have microphones all day. This was like multiple hours. And unfortunately, my man Josh here got the brunt of that frustration. He got the brunt of hours of me dealing with people not talking to me, not having call outs in the video game. And I felt so bad. I was like, let me invite this guy. Let's go play some games. And then here we are 5 years later, like Josh said. We also, through me and Josh, I introduced him to our now mutual friend, Joey. Call him Joey Hockey for those who follow me on Twitch. Had a wonderful trip. Josh came up here. We went to New York City. I watched Josh run around New York City. It was hard to keep up with him. He was quite the tourist that day. It was a great time. We went to New York Rangers Bruins game, my first NHL game at Madison Square Garden. So yeah, Josh is also the first person I met online through gaming. I've met a lot of people through gaming. First person I met in person through gaming, which is a very cool thing. And now lifelong friends doing a podcast together about movies. So it's pretty awesome. I'm excited to be here, Josh, and it's great. And I'm excited to talk movies with you. And today,
let's get into it.
We are talking about the movies that made us fall in love with film. And that could be anything. And I wrote a couple random movies down of growing up and things that made me just really fall in love with movies. But I wanna hear some of yours first, Josh. Hit me with some of those movies that really hit you. What made you fall in love with film as much as you are?
I think there's probably different levels of it to me. A lot of people that know me, I'm sure they expect certain answers, but there's the first movie that I watched where I realized I liked film, what the people from probably the Academy and the industry would consider like a worthy film. And then there were films growing up that I watched that made me feel euphoric and happy, or even sad at sometimes, where I really connected with them. Right off the top, if I go with like a film, it was a movie. I was working in a movie theater in 2010, 2011 area. And the movie that came out was The Social Network. It was the first time I had seen movies from Fincher before, David Fincher, and I didn't realize, it was the first time I was like, oh, there are directors that make these movies. And like the first time my brain processed, like, there are directors that make really great movies across their entire catalog, and how you can fall in love with their visions and the way that they stylize their shots and things. And that was the Social Network. And that was one of them. That was a big one for me. What about you?
So I'm going to go way back. Now, I dug deep. Very young. I'm talking like you were working at the time. I'm talking childhood Dave here. Okay. There was a movie. I can't tell you how many times I watched it, but it was every time my grandmother babysat me and my brother and sister, or just me at the time, because I was the oldest. She had a collection of VHS tapes, but it was my grandmother's collection. There wasn't many movies that I was interested in that she was watching, except for one. It was a movie that really, it was the first I remember, like, being a young kid. I was maybe 5, 6, 7. It was one of those first like real person movies, real life, real adult movies that I remember watching as a kid. Field of Dreams.
Wow.
Field of Dreams, Kevin Costner.
Oh.
I still get chills to this day. Build it and they will come. The ghost walking out of the cornfield. Loved baseball growing up as a kid. Loved the sport. But it was the first, I remember like that first movie that made me like really feel something, right? I mean, it was an emotional movie, right? The son and his father, right? Like the surrounded by the game of baseball, and how this was the field. Everything about it was magical to me. And I'm telling you, I was young. I was a kid. And I watched it for the first time, but I had to watch it every single time I went to my grandmother's house. Be babysat, because it brought a like, and I'm young too. Now you're talking about, life and death. It was one of those first movies for a lot of kids. Like Lion King was that movie. Let whole life and death, like no, mine was Field of Dreams. Like mine was. It still to this day gives me chills. Like I remember watching as a kid just for that first time. Man, there's nothing.
I had no idea, genuinely, that was that's
I was
one
gonna
of them.
surprise.
That's
I was gonna surprise you here.
absolutely.
Talking about this before we recorded. I was gonna pull out some surprises. Yeah, that's one of those movies that just like, I don't know. I can still watch it to this day. Just love it as much as I did as a kid.
Yeah, and with me, the Social Network was at a point where I was on the precipice of adulthood, so that was like really, like I said, I went with the more of the artistic expression, and like realizing that film is an artistic medium versus just like feel good. But another one right off the top of the head is Robin Williams and Mrs. Doubtfire. And even to this day, I can watch that movie and appreciate it for more than it just being that like 90s era comedy, wacky. That movie has so much depth between Robin's performance and his heartbreak that he puts into everything surrounding. For those of you that don't know, the movie's been out for a long time, so spoiler alert. The divorce that happens between him and Sally Fields, he puts so much emotion into his character, his love of his children, this fake children in this movie. You think that they're his real children in real life, and like the themes of relationships and how they don't always work out was one of the first times I remember as a kid seeing as a product of divorce, parents that loved my siblings and I enough to put their individual differences aside to raise us together, to not take us from one or the other parent, to say, you know what, our relationship didn't work out, but we love our children enough that we will make this work. We will be friends. And to have that, it was the first time I saw it in a movie, the same thing that I was living in my life where, yeah, it was tough at first. And like, there's a lot of emotions that go into this, but like, to see like, oh, this actually happens. Like, it's not just like at the end of the movie, the parents get back together. And as a young kid, that's, you see those movies and you're like, maybe my parents will get back together. But
It was real life.
It was so real for this comedy that was, marketed as like Robin Williams in Old Face, So, but also some of my favorite lines and quotes from a movie of all time.
Funny you brought up Robin Williams, because my next movie is also a Robin Williams movie that, once again, childhood, and it really opened up the imagination. Hook. Hook was, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
Rufio.
Yeah, oh, come on, dude. Come on. But like, talk about transporting you. Like, you knew the story of Peter Pan, right? You saw the cartoon version, whatever. But this was probably one of the first movies that was made into like a real, real life movie and live action, and Robin Williams in it, but like being transported to the world of Peter Pan and like opening up my imagination as a kid. And it, I mean, obviously we all know the story of Peter Pan and the whole Never Land. It just like,
but to expand on that, not just recreating that as a live, adaptation, but to give us a story that we, that's not the original Peter Pan,
right,
that's
right.
it's Peter Pan grown up,
Yeah.
it's this like return to Neverland type situation. Yeah, absolutely. I am
Dustin
right.
Hoffman as Hook.
Dustin Hoffman. And honestly, I was going to tell you, every time I remember that Dustin Hoffman was Hook, it blows my mind every time, because I just don't see Hook. I see Hook, and I try to tell myself, who was that? And then I go, Dustin Hoffman.
It was Dustin
Holy
Hoffman.
cow, that was
Yes.
Dustin Hoffman.
Dude, like I always forget that, but then yeah, no, it was Dustin Hoffman. But I always loved, it was those movies for me growing up as a kid that unlocked the imagination for me. I don't know, like, I'll give you another one that growing up as a kid that sticks with me to this day. I had all the toys. I mean, I was super young too. Beetlejuice.
Wow.
Beetlejuice was one of those movies as a young kid that took you to another world. Like, it was unlike anything I have ever seen before in my life. Okay, like I'm talking like when you were brought into the world of Beetlejuice, right? I think, I forget what year it came out, but I had to have been, once again, like in that 5, 6, 7-year-old range, watching these movies as a kid. I don't know if I was really young, but I loved it because it had my imagination going at a very, very young age, right? And those kind of movies, I think, really, really made me start to fall in love with film. Those ones that transported me to another world that, as a kid, made my imagination run wild, right? And Beetlejuice, Hook, those kind of movies as a kid, man, just really, I don't know, stuck with me. But then obviously I got older, and then, my movie taste started to mature, and, movies.
I mean, I would say that to this day, Beetlejuice still stands out as a great.
Oh, of course.
I mean, you've got Michael Keaton, who I could go on for hours about how much I respect and adore Michael Keaton. When you can do something like play Bruce Wayne and, be in this gothic, Gotham landscape of a Tim Burton Batman, and then go and do Multiplicity, where you're playing the same character with four different, personality types, and then do Beetlejuice, and you're funny, you're serious, you're all these things. That Michael Keaton is just absolutely incredible in my head.
Yeah.
Another, as far as a movie that I remember watching as a kid and being like, whoa, like my first sci-fi, I think, experience, which probably surprises a lot of people. It wasn't a Star Wars. It wasn't a Lord of the Rings. It was Back to the Future. Specifically Back to the Future Part 2, which I know some people think is a little taboo to say that I think number 2 was better than number 1, but Back to the Future Part 2 is a movie that there are soundscapes in that movie that if I heard on a soundboard just right now, I would go, this is from this scene at this part of this movie, of part 2. And I could tell you just absolutely being like time travel. I remember like being in my parents' car as a kid and being driving and being like, come on, go. Like we gotta go back to the future. So that's one of those for me as well, that I was like, wow, this is incredible.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. We got our hot take of this podcast.
Back to the Future Part 2 is better than Part 1. Hey,
I love it. We're there.
The score was better. The music was better. I think that it looked a little prettier. Okay. The budget was there, and it shows. I'm not saying that 1 was bad. If you asked me to pick between the 3, I'm picking 2 every time. Although I will say they got so much wrong about the future, because we've now reached that point, and we don't have flying cars. We don't have Jaws. What was it, Jaws 15 or something like that? So they got a lot wrong about the future. Their guesses for where we'd be as a civilization, but we won't fault them for that. No. I will say, so a transition from live action. What's an animated movie that made you love animated film?
See, I hate to use it because I feel like it's gonna sound so generic, but Lion King, dude, like it was Lion King.
Absolutely.
It has to be. There's nothing that hit me so hard as a kid. Got me so emotional as a child watching a because up to that point, to that point, cartoons were happy-go-lucky, feel good, like all the Disney movies I watched up until that point. And well, there was Bambi, but I didn't really remember that. But Lion King, though, I remember, man. Talk about life lessons, hard life lessons that you learn in Lion King, but everything, obviously you mentioned movie scores, but I remember going to see it in theaters. I remember my parents buying it on VHS, me watching it so many times, obviously loving every song. The soundtrack was incredible. Yeah, but I can go even earlier than Lion King now.
Ooh.
Pinocchio. Disney's Pinocchio. I remember loving that, and Little Mermaid. Those were the 2 Disney movies I had as a kid that I just loved. I don't know if there was something in the music. I think the music had a lot to do with the Little Mermaid too. Like, I don't know.
I will expand upon that actually in a second when I tell you mine. But Pinocchio was the first movie that I remember that probably created my fear of the ocean. I have a pretty deep fear. I'll go out on the ocean on a boat, no problem. But people jumping in the ocean, like, come swim. Nah, I'm good, actually. Thank you. I'm going to stay right here on this boat. You have fun with that. Get swallowed by a whale. So Pinocchio is partially to blame. And The Little Mermaid, to be honest, those are 2 movies that I remember as a kid feeling fear during, while watching them. The scenes with Ursula and the eels, and then the whale scene with Pinocchio were two things that really terrified me as a kid. Not like screaming, crying, running away, but yeah, created something. I'm sure there's a therapist out there that wants to break this down with me. But when it comes to the Lion King, mine's very, very close, and they're more connected than I think most people are aware of. Mine is DreamWorks' The Prince of Egypt. And I think that a lot of the reason why I love that movie comes from Hans Zimmer, who also composed the score for The Lion King. The way that the music really transcends the experience of movies is it's incredible. I mean, I've seen edits where people take really important scenes from movies over the years and they change the music in the background, and how drastically it changes everything about the scene.
It's amazing how music can do that with movies.
Absolutely. But the Prince of Egypt, even outside of anybody's specific religious points of view, this story of Moses, this adaptation, the story of Moses, it was so beautifully crafted. The art, the literal art design, the artists that drew this movie into life. It was the first time, and I grew up watching animated things. Like my Saturday mornings were spent watching cartoons and Batman the Animated Series, and growing up on that kind of thing. That was the first time that I watched a cartoon and went, "Oh my God, how is this beautiful? This feels like real life." The parting of the sea and the tornado of fire and then the score. Not to mention probably one of the most star-studded casts in an animated movie of all time. If you really pull it up, it is insanity the amount of A-listers that were on this. Hit them.
Val Kilmer, Brenda Chapman, Steve Martin, Sandra Bullock, Martin Short, Patrick Stewart, Michelle Pfeiffer, just to name a few. My goodness.
Ray Fiennes,
Yep. Danny Glover, Jeff Goldblum. Geez, holy cow! Yeah. I didn't realize. Yeah. Now, for those you don't know, Josh and I previously recorded an episode of my music podcast where we discussed this score, but we didn't discuss the actual movie and who's in this movie. I need to go back and watch The Prince of Egypt, I think. Wow.
And one of the best cold openings of any movie of all time, in my opinion. You start this movie in it. Like, they pull you in before the credits ever tell you what the name of the movie is. You're like sobbing. You're so in this movie, and it's an animated film from what at the time was considered the inferior animated studio, DreamWorks.
Wow. I need to go back.
They came out the gate swinging. They said, okay, Lion King,
Released on my birthday in 1998.
Wow. December 8th. Wow. December 2009 or 1998, excuse me.
1998, yeah. Prince of Egypt premiered at Royce Hall in Los Angeles on December 16th, then was released in theaters on December 18th.
Wow.
1998. Whew.
December 18th. There's a lot of movies over the years, big ones that have come out.
Titanic came out on December 18th.
Titanic, yep. Star Wars, the newer trilogy, the Force Awakens came out on December 18th. Yeah, there's been quite a few good movies. Of course, you and several people I know share all the same birthdays, so it's December 18th sticks out in my head every year because I have to tell like 6 people that day happy birthday and call and have conversations with them.
There's actually a lot. I know Christina Aguilera. Speaking of movies, Steven Spielberg's birthday is December 18th also. Wow. Brad Pitt, I believe. Ray Liotta, rest in peace. DMX, rest in peace. Stone Cold Steve Austin is another one I know off the top of my head. Yeah.
Because Stone Cold said so.
Yeah, no, it's great birthday, great time for movies. That's great. No, that's awesome.
The bottom line.
Yeah, no, basically. Yeah, wow, Prince. I need to go back and watch this. you have raved about this. I really need to go listen to that score.
Yeah. It definitely has a defining a moment.
Yeah.
You know, it's a defining piece of art for my life,
for sure.
and what's shaped me.
I love that. Yeah, no. As far as to be honest with you, like growing up, I was never really into animated films. I never was. My brother and sister were. Like, I can tell you, I can sit here and tell you right now, I've never seen a Shrek movie.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What?
Yes.
Shrek.
You've
never watched any of the Shrek movies?
I've seen it bits and pieces of all people were watching.
That doesn't count. You've never watched Shrek.
Sat and watched a Shrek movie all the way through. Yeah, breaking news for you. Yeah, but just blew your mind, right? You like that? We're really gonna get into it here on this podcast.
How have you survived?
I mean, yes,
that's insanity to me.
Never saw Shrek. Loved the Toy Story movies though. Loved all the Toy Story movies. Shrek never saw.
Oh my gosh.
So like,
wow.
It was as I got older, I don't know, I was more into the serious stuff. I honestly was. I mean, you're talking to somebody, like I said earlier, was watching Field of Dreams at like 5 years old, getting like as an emotional wreck. So like, I think my taste was a little bit more mature than kids my age back then. If that makes sense. While kids were watching Shrek, I was watching Scarface. Okay. Let's just put that. Okay, well, that's how I put it. I was watching the Godfather movies. I was watching all the mobster movies back then. I was Shawshank Redemption. Like for some reason, I got attached to more mature stuff at a younger age. I really credit it to Field of Dreams because it was a more adult movie and I was like super young. So I don't know, something with the animated stuff. Even to this day, I don't watch many. My favorite animated film to come out recently has to be the Spider-Man Into the Universe stuff, like that stuff. But
I mean,
yeah, that's about it. Like, as far as animation, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan.
Now, part of what I think makes people like fall in love with art is when movies are able to transcend the screen and make you in a way feel something or inspire thoughts, like where either the thing that's on the screen, it's almost like you can feel it. And with that, I say, what movies do you remember in your life where they were eating something that made you see it, you feel like you know what it tastes like, you want it, like something where they were eating something in a movie where you're like, holy cow, how did this movie, I'm watching a flat screen and how did this movie just make me hungry, or God, I want that. I'll start.
Ooh, yeah, you go. Well, I think
this is a weird one because I was a kid, but I remember just being like, God, I kind of want to try it. The Little Rascals, the kitty litter sandwich. That I know, but as a kid, I wanted that sandwich so bad because the director, the audio design team, they made it like as if you were there. Like I remember the crunch of the sandwich, the sound and how realistic it sounded and the look of it. And I know it's gross, but tell me that kitty litter sandwich wasn't something crazy from that Little Rascals film.
Oh, it was insane. I'm a little just surprised that's your choice, the kitty litter sandwich.
Give me that kitty litter sandwich, baby.
I mean, the only thing that comes to my mind as a kid, or like, dude, I don't know. That's a tough one. Food scene. Any like.
Oh no!
What is it? I just watched it recently.
Uh-huh.
Super Troopers.
Oh God.
The
Yeah.
chugging contest with the maple syrup. For some reason, I can taste that maple syrup. For
Oh
whatever reason,
man.
they're sitting in the restaurant and they're chugging the maple syrup. I can literally taste it for whatever reason. I'm like, oh God, that's so much.
Yeah, I can tell you the opposite of one for me. Something that maybe just like Pinocchio and the whale, my hatred for the ocean. I have never
We're
been a
learning.
big cake person,
Oh yeah, no.
and I think that the scene where the kid is unfortunately being forced to chow down on an entire chocolate cake in Matilda,
Oh my
um,
God, yeah.
by Miss Trunchbull.
Uh-huh.
I think that is one of the reasons why I despise cake. I just remember being like, "Ugh, I don't ever want to eat again." That's an awful food scene. But hey, this is like movies. Like they do this thing in your brain that you
Mhm.
probably don't even realize. Like they set to an extent. They can set like expectations for how life is supposed to be. They can make you want or desire things. They can play with your emotions on a level that I just think a lot of things can't, um, because you do when you have a really good movie that combines the visual stimulation and the auditory stimulation of music. It's just such an incredible medium.
Mm. Beautifully said. It's so true. That's why I love movies, man. I love just being able to escape reality and go and just be transported to whatever world I'm watching, whatever story I'm being sucked into. And that's why we're here today, man. That's why we're doing this podcast, because you and I both love movies in that way. Now, before we wrap up today, this is the post credit podcast. I want to know, Josh, one of your most favorite post credit scenes in a movie. And I know before we start recording, you were struggling with this one.
Yeah, it is tough, but honestly,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with there was a few times, obviously, especially in the MCU era, where post credit scenes really started to become what they were. I have an honorable mention. I remember when I first time I watched Ferris Bueller, the post credit scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
That was mine. You took
Was
mine.
it
You
really?
took mine. Come
No.
on. That was my first one. That was the first post credit scene I ever saw, and you mentioned it right before we started recording. I didn't want to
Oh
say anything.
man,
But go
that's
on.
so
But go on.
funny.
This is why we're
Well, I
doing
won't
this.
I won't
Wait,
elaborate on it, but
no,
that's
no,
definitely
elaborate. No, no,
one
no,
of my
elaborate. Please,
favorites.
please do. I want you to elaborate because you mentioned something before we started recording. Go on.
It's the first time in a movie I remember them breaking a fourth wall,
Yep.
and being addressed, as an audience outside of like a blooper reel on a film. Which, oh man, I love blooper reels. But, you know, uh, then there's the MCU era stuff, the stuff that gets you like really excited for what's to come next, to keep
Uh-huh.
you sort of addicted to the movie train. Like you're waiting. It gives you anticipation, and it gives you something exciting to look forward to, the idea of what the MCU did with them. So of course, an honorable mention is the first Iron Man movie. Samuel Jackson coming out, that was so left field. Like when no one
Mhm.
thought that this was going to be some like it was going to become what the MCU was. That is probably one of the most important post-credit scenes. But honestly, there was one that really got me because I was a huge fan of the 90s X-Men animated series. There is a post-credit scene in the Wolverine. Yeah, it's the Wolverine, I believe. God, I hope it is. But it's the scene. If you've seen it, you probably know what I'm talking about. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments for sure. But I'm pretty sure it's the Wolverine where um, Logan is going through the airport, and this is post X3, where um, you know uh, Professor Xavier has died, Magneto has lost his powers, Jean Grey's dead, and he's walking through the airport, and everyone freezes, and he's confused. He doesn't know what's going on. And then you just have the iconic wheelchair just being strolled into this crowd, and you're like, what in God's name? What? How is this possible? And Professor Xavier appears alive, and who's with him? Magneto. And guess what? There's a war coming, and we've got to do this again, which led to arguably the greatest X-Men movie that has ever been created, X-Men Days of Future Past. That would be my pick.
Yeah, it's a great dude. Just even you hearing it, hearing that the famous wheelchair. I mean, thinking back to that scene, and dude, so iconic. Just chills, just even thinking about it.
Oh, if I remember correctly, I stood up in the theater and was like, I'm gonna shit my pants right here. Bleep it, I lost it. It.
I would have. But all the Marvel, I mean, we'll dive deeper as we go along here, but we'll pick out some of my favorite Marvel post-credit scenes as we go. There's been some good ones. There's been some really good ones, but you're right. The iconic the Avengers Initiative, that first appearance by Samuel as Nick Fury, man, there's another one that just gave you chills. I remember being in the theater for that too, man. Being so excited for what's to come. Also not knowing what's to come too. That was the best part. Because you don't know where this was going to go. What ride we were about to go on. And the ride that we went on leading to Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, and the payoff that was those two movies. I mean, wow.
Oh, yeah.
We'll dive more into the MCU and all those projects in a future episode. But seeing how you took my post-credit scene, my favorite one of all, well, the first one. I'm just gonna hit you with a funny one because I'm gonna stay with the comedy. You hit on the Marvel and the comics, and I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna go out with a bang here. Dodgeball. Okay, Ben Stiller when he's fat and he's watching fucking Chuck Norris. I laughed so hard in that movie theater when I saw that. Okay, I'm just sticking with the comedy because that one was great. All right, he's just sitting there just eating fucking Chuck Norris. I'm dead. And then I walked out of the movie. No, but I wanted to stick with the comedy there. But we will dive more deeper into these topics like the MCU. We got a whole season coming to you guys, which I'm very excited for.
And honestly, I'm gonna want to spend some time. Anybody that knows you from your streaming, Deskpop Dave. There's a pretty important correlation with your name and a movie that we both absolutely love that I've seen probably. Oh God, I would imagine over 1,000 times. Just the nights where I would put it on just to go to sleep. But that's the comedies and that side of it is something we're going to have to jump in as well.
One of my favorite genres of movies. I love comedies. I don't know about comedies today, though. I mean, they're not like what they were when I was growing up. But that's something we'll dive into in a future episode because that is a wrap on our very first episode, Josh, of the Post Credit Podcast. How you feeling?
I'm excited that we're finally doing it.
Yeah,
I think over the next few podcasts that we do, I'm gonna make some friends, and I'm gonna probably piss off some of the internet with some hot takes.
I'm here for that. Let's go.
And in the spirit of that, I will say hot take, another one before we go.
Let's end with a hot take. Let's go.
There's been no decade of comedies that have been as funny or as well made as the 90s. Eat it.
Oh, I'm going to have to think about that one for a future episode. Ooh. Because one can argue the 2000s, like the 2000 to 2010 period.
That's the biggest one.
Oh, we're gonna have to debate that. Oh, this might be a debate episode coming up. Oh, okay. Oh, I enjoyed that. Ladies and gentlemen, if you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Post Credit Podcast. Leave us a review. Share the podcast with your friends, fellow movie lovers, because we want to keep this community growing. Your thoughts, your debates, your favorite scenes, your favorite movies. Let us know in the comments. Who knows? You might end up on this podcast with us one day. We might be chatting movies with you. Never know. But I'm Dave. This is Josh.
Joshua.
Yes, sir. And this is the Post Credit Podcast. Thank you for hanging out with us. Stay tuned to the next episode. Peace out, y'all. A wrap.
I like it.
I wanted it to be right around 45 minutes.